Check, check, check. Hey, let's get it. Let's get it. We in here. Let's get it. All right, so we're in here. It's your boy Young Can 2 coming at you, Air Show Sports, and we're just in here with a fight review. Andy Ruiz Jr. took on Chris Areola in a 12-round attraction on pay-per-view. It was the first time two Mexican-American heavyweights headlined a boxing pay-per-view card, and it was very entertaining. The fight was well worth the $49.95 that I paid for it. It was a high-action fight that had a lot of unexpected twists. Really, just Chris Areola, man, came to fight, and he had Andy Ruiz down in the second round with a big chopping right hand. It was just a 1-2. It was a jab, chopping right hand as Ruiz lunged in, left himself open, and got caught right on the temple. He subsequently touched the canvas with his knee, and it was rolled a knockdown, and it was visible that Ruiz was dazed. And man, I didn't expect it, but you know, this is boxing. Anything could happen. It's the heavyweight division. You know, Ruiz had about a 25-pound advantage in weight over Areola, but man, Areola's conditioning proved to really make him a different fighter, man. Like, this is the lightest he came into the fight in his career. 228. He's always been 250 plus, right? And he came in, and that goes to show that your conditioning and the work you put in the gym, it goes a long way. And he was the man who almost put out Andy, man. Like, Joshua was the only other guy to put Andy on the mat. And so this was amazing by an amazing game performance by Chris Areola. And he's been a gatekeeper his whole career, but I think after this fight, even though he lost, everybody's got to respect Chris Areola, man, for real. If you don't like him, if you didn't like him before, I mean, you got to at least respect him, because he went in there against Andy, who was a more than 10-1 favorite. You know, like, he was a minus 2,000 favorite, like ridiculous numbers, huge, massive favorite. Chris Areola 12-1, and he, like I said, he put Andy Ruiz down in the second round with a chopping right hand, and it was a great fight. You know, my takeaways from the fight are just Andy's got to get back in the gym, and he's got to tighten up on defense, because he was leaving his right hand down and getting irresponsible, not thinking that Areola was gonna counter on the inside. And Areola counter with some nice sharp left hooks on the inside. And his timing was the difference. Areola's timing was what allowed him to stagger Ruiz. Timing beats everything, people. Just like, it's just how it goes, man. I mean, timing beats quickness, it beats speed, it beats power. You know, but let's give credit to Andy Ruiz. It was, he had a long layoff as well as Areola. So, he stayed composed and he fought a tactical fight the rest of the way that allowed him to win on the scorecards. I think the scorecards were definitely a little bit wide, and it's kind of ridiculous, man. Like how biased boxing is. Every single one of these cards, I don't care, top rank, PBC, Golden Boy, and the Matchroom, all of them. Man, they're paying off the judges. It's obvious, okay? I mean, we're gonna sit back here like that's not happening. Like that's happening. All right, so Ruiz was gonna get the decision no matter what. And even when Areola had good rounds, they only gave him credit for the round he knocked him down because they had to. And that's BS, man. He had Ruiz hurt in that next round, the third round. And I scored it a 10-8 round for Areola as well. So my scorecard was 115-111 for Andy Ruiz. I gave Areola another round later on. I think I gave him like the 7th or 8th. But it's just ridiculous, the judges. Obviously, it's just how it goes, man. But this was a close fight. Areola was never hurt. And Ruiz was hurt, man, multiple times, man. He looked very vulnerable against the older Areola. So this is boxing, man. I mean, this is why we watch. And, what's the next chapter? What's the next step for Andy Ruiz? I like that he's saying he needs to get back in the gym because he definitely needs to tighten up his defense. And Eddie Reynoso, his trainer, in the press conference after said that Andy will become a champion again. So Reynoso's gonna do everything in his power to get Andy to a level where he can win at the top. I think that you got to give credit to Chris Areola, man, and he really was motivated for this fight. You could tell, and I'm just so proud that I was the first person on YouTube to ask either fighter about a potential fight against each other. And Chris Areola, he said he was game. He would have been down to fight Andy Ruiz. He's like, yeah, I'll be down. I'm not afraid of anybody. So he wasn't. He proved, man, Areola, man, I respect him. And he's definitely like a fighter that he disappointed most of his career, but in this fight, like where everything was stacked against him, really, I mean, he showed to be a true dude, man. Like he's a winner, man. Areola's a winner. He came to win, man. And that was good. Like I said, this was a good fight for Ruiz because shit, Areola didn't lay down, man. He didn't lay down at all. And Ruiz needed a fight to get back in it. So like he said after the press conference, he's happy it went the full distance to 12. And I think so too, gave him some rounds. He's had, a full fight under him. You want to, he took some shots though, man. He's got to tighten up his defense, and I think give Ruiz another 5-6 months. He should be back in the ring. Yeah, get him in there. Get Ruiz in there. I don't know. I mean, that rematch, I don't know if he should do the rematch with Areola. It's a good-ass fight, but he could do the rematch with Areola and show how he's tighter and he's tightened down on things, and Areola's like non-competitive in their rematch. That's what Ruiz could do, but I think who should Ruiz fight next? Look at that guy's in the division right now. There's a lot of fights he could make happen. I don't know if he wants to take on Luis Ortiz. That's a good-ass fight too. Luis Ortiz was in attendance, and I'm sure he's licking his chops after seeing what happened last night. And Ruiz looking vulnerable. I don't know how Ruiz would fare against the southpaw either. Can't remember the last time he faced the southpaw. And Luis Ortiz is a southpaw who could pack a punch, man. Areola was asked if he believed Ruiz would beat Wilder in a potential fight, and he thinks that Ruiz would beat Wilder. But he also said that if Wilder keeps Ruiz on the outside, then he's going to pick him apart. And I agree with him. And I actually think, based on last night's performance from Ruiz, I think Wilder could stop him. I think Wilder might stop him. Ruiz has got to move his head a little more. He's got to keep his hands up. I think he needs to throw more feints. He didn't throw too many feints against Areola last night. He's got to mix up his attack. But I'll give him credit for staying composed and being able to weather the storm to a level where he can get himself back in the fight. He started to pick his shots better toward the middle rounds and the later portion of the fight. So overall, I give Ruiz a C. It wasn't horrible, but obviously he looked vulnerable against an older veteran who came to fight. And man, it was a good fight. The pay-per-view, like I said, $49.95. It was worth every penny. You usually don't get that on pay-per-view, but actually recently pay-per-view's been pretty good. The Jake Paul pay-per-view, that was a great knockout. I mean, I thought it was worth it. And but yeah, I mean, this pay-per-view was well worth the purchasing price, and I'm happy I got it. I'm happy I got to watch this fight. And look, when I first thought about this fight, I just knew it would be an interesting fight. But I expected Andy to have a little bit sharper performance. He looked good in that first round. And then the second round, Areola surprised everybody. Boom, 1-2, dropped him. And then Ruiz was basically, he looked staggered the rest of that round and also into the third round. Even the fourth round, like, Areola was still, like, right there, landing shots. So, like, if this wasn't a bias, like, if the judges weren't biased, it would have been a way closer fight. I don't know if you could have given it to Areola, but who knows? Maybe one judge could have. But it was a close fight up until Andy started to settle down, and he stayed composed, man. So I give Andy Ruiz a C. But that's good. It was a fight to get him back in the mix. He's still got a lot more to prove. But this is boxing, man. Like, I'm pretty sure he was surprised and he didn't expect that type of performance. He's rededicated himself to the ring, but he needs to stay in the gym, and that's good. So I'm glad to hear and see that Andy is going to continue to be smart and disciplined. And I'd like to see him fight Wilder. That's a good fight, baby. That's a big fight. Damn, that fight would have been for Undisputed last year if they could have made that fight. But nah, man. It's the UK be shady. Shady with them belts. As Joshua and Fury both have them. And we don't even know if they're going to fight. But honestly, I don't even care about that Fury-Joshua fight. Fury's going to mop up Joshua if that fight happens. And yeah, because Joshua ain't a real champion anyway. I mean, he never fought in America and won in America. He lost to Ruiz. He doesn't defend his title in America. You're the world champion. Come fight in LA. Come fight in Vegas. So, I don't know. I think Anthony Joshua is a manufactured champion. That's why I think Tyson Fury bowls over him. And I even think Deontay Wilder starches him inside 7. The only way Anthony Joshua can compete with either of those two fighters is if he stays conditioned like he did in the rematch against Ruiz. But I think that was a special condition because that fight was in Saudi Arabia and Ruiz came overweight. Look, Joshua came to America, man. He looked gassed after 3 rounds. That tells me something. So, Joshua, Fury, make the fight happen. If Fury's going to win that fight, But I want to see Ruiz and Wilder. That's the People's Championship right there. The two top heavyweights in the States right now is Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz Jr., and that's a monster fight. I think that fight does good numbers on pay-per-view. So I want to see Ruiz against Wilder. And that fight's 50-50 because we don't know how Wilder's going to turn out off of his long layoff too. So that's a good fight right now if they make that fight. But I think the Luis Ortiz Andy Ruiz fight is more likely. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you sub to the channel. It's your boy Young Cantu. Peace.